Good day, everyone. This is Naval, your OLC for Purposive Communication. Today, we are going to discuss communication for work purposes. So, there are a lot of purposes of communication, just like what we have discussed before. So, we have entertainment, informative purposes as the most common ones. Now, let's not leave out communication for work purposes. So, in this topic, we're going to discuss the following: workplace communication and methods of communication in a workplace. At the end of this module or session, you are expected to give the meaning of workplace communication. And of course, identify the methods of communication in a workplace. Let's begin. Let's start with workplace communication. What is it? Workplace communication is the process of exchanging information and ideas, both verbal and nonverbal, within an organization. All right. So, in an organization, there are different employees. There are employees in an organization. So, these employees, whether it's the boss or just a regular employee, a subordinate perhaps, they would have to communicate from time to time. An organization may consist of employees from different parts of the society. These people may have different cultures, backgrounds, and can be used to different norms. So, since there are different people in an organization, these people may also have different cultures, may also have different beliefs, different practices, traditions, backgrounds, even. So, how would they be able to communicate? Communication in the workplace plays a vital role in uniting the employees as well as achieving the society's objectives. So, despite differences in culture, in beliefs, in backgrounds, at some point they would have to be aligned. They would have to be united, especially in achieving the goals of the company, because in the company you have a singular, or you have just one vision, mission, and of course you have your goals to work towards those vision and mission. It is tremendously important to an organization because it increases productivity and efficiency. Effective communication at that. So, when you are able to communicate, when you are able to understand one another, it increases your productivity. You become more productive, you become more aligned, and you tend to accomplish more than before because you know that in the organization you are not alone. You have people to help you with whenever you're struggling. So you have people who work towards that common goal, that common vision that you have for your company. Now, what can an ineffective workplace communication lead to? This leads to gaps among employees that cause confusion, mistrust, wasted time, reduces productivity, and creates misunderstanding. Again, when communication in the workplace is ineffective, meaning you don't understand one another the right way, it leads to gaps. It leads to confusion, mistrust, wasted time. You are not very productive because you are not clear as to what to do, and the others are like that as well. It may create misunderstanding among the employees. So, we have to ensure that communication in the workplace is effective and efficient. And in order for us to do that, we have to be aware of the different methods of communication in a workplace. To make sure that everyone understands the message conveyed in a workplace, methods of communication should be used. The methods of communication must be simple and precise when presenting vital information. Again, it should be simple and precise. It doesn't have to be very complicated. The more complicated it would be, the higher the chance that it would not be very efficient. So it must be simple within the level of understanding of everyone. And, the steps made or to be done should be very simple to follow as well. Good communication is what separates a poor leader from an exceptional one. It's something to be remembered. So a good leader is not only good when it comes to operations, when it comes to handling the transactions. A good leader or an exceptional leader should also be good in communicating towards his or her members. Now, an old adage goes that it's not about what you say, it's about how you say it. That would really matter. Because if you have a message and then you want to cascade it to all the members of your organization, you have to do it the right way. You have to do it in a way that would make them understand it, make them appreciate it, and hence they would be motivated to work for it towards that common goal. Having effective communication skills is the key to good leadership. Always remember that. You should not only be skilled when it comes to your craft. If you're a leader, if you're a manager, you should always be skilled in communication. Because this is where you hear the feedback. You tend to comment on the feedback of the people. So you have to do it the right way. When they did something wrong, when they committed a mistake, how are you going to address it? How are you going to talk to them? When you want them to up their game, how are you going to convey that? All of those would fall under having effective communication skills. Now, what are the different ways of communication in a workplace? And I also have here some of the tips that you can use. So first is open meeting. So in an open meeting, you tend to openly discuss whatever your ideas are, regardless of position or hierarchy in the workplace. In this kind of way, the members will get to hear what you say as a leader or vice versa and get their feedback in return. So it's more like an open exchange of ideas, an open forum at that. In here, you are free to say your piece, your ideas, your suggestions, and then the others would also be free to comment and to say their own pieces regarding your idea. That's an open meeting. Next, we have emails. Emails or electronic mails. One of the most convenient ways to get your message across nowadays because of technology. Using email requires less effort in communication in a workplace because you can do it remotely. You can just send an email right then and there. Now, the problem with email is that when a concern is very urgent and the person you're communicating with did not check the email right away. So it's a matter of urgency for emails and it's a matter of checking your emails regularly, right, in the workplace. Okay, next we have one on one. So we had open meeting a while ago. When in an open meeting, you have people around you, you have, say, several members of the organization around you, and you have to have that exchange of information, exchange of ideas in a group. Now, there are topics that can't be dealt with using the open meeting approach. So you can resort to one on one. So, sensitive topics, confidential matters, this has to be dealt with using that one on one approach. In a one on one approach, you got to understand their ideas, the employees' ideas, without a prior hindrance. Okay, what can be a hindrance? One on one versus open meeting. In an open meeting, you have to consider that there are other people there. So there are other beliefs, other cultures that you need to consider. When you go one on one, it's just between you and that person of concern. So you can get your ideas across, you can get to discuss intensively about that certain topic without considering hindrances. Okay? So the only different culture that you need to consider is that of the person that you're talking to, and not to consider also what the others has to say because it's just between the two of you. So again, it may be for topics that are sensitive or confidential and not meant for a group meeting. In here, you can also be very transparent. You can be very open and even vulnerable if it calls for you to do so. All right, so that's it for one-on-one. Now, here are some tips. In communicating in the workplace, you have to use simple words. You have to use a word that can be easily understood. So don't assume that everybody is on par with your vocabulary level. You have to think as you have to place or put yourselves in the shoes of others. For example, you have to think in a very generic manner. If I'm going to explain it this way, will I be able to understand it even if I don't know that technical term? So you have to avoid jargons or technical terms that needs explanation or technical definition, because you have to assume that not everyone is on the same vocabulary level as you are. Next, you can use visual or visuals. So they should not just hear the message but also see it. So visual aids, meaning they help in your presentation, they help in conveying the message. So for example, charts, graphs. So visual representations like that could help you convey the message. Say, here is our progress for the first 3 months. So if you have a chart there, they can easily visualize that, oh, there was an increase. Or, well, we were able to sustain it a bit, okay, because of that visual representation. It should not be the source of the message, hence, it helps you convey the message. And, people are generally visual in nature. If you're just blabbering about things, talking and talking on and on, they would not pay so much attention. So when they see something, it diverts their attention, it catches their attention, and they get to see a message from what you just used, related to what you're talking about. So that's what the visuals are for. Next, use body language. It is easier and faster to communicate using body language without using much of an explanation, because your body and facial expressions say it all. So again, when you are explaining something, when you are discussing something to your members, you can use body language. Because sometimes there are things that are easier explained when you do gestures, when you express it using your facial expressions, rather than just explaining it and getting the details of it by means of verbal communication. There are some things that are explained more effectively if you accompany or if you use body language as you explain. All right. For example, if you're explaining a certain procedure, if you're doing a demonstration, of course, that would require for you to use body language. And that would be easier to follow when they see you how to do it versus you just explain it like the steps. Next, we have phone conversation. Persons in a phone conversation can practice what they are going to say without seeing their facial expression. Alright, so in a phone conversation, you can hear the tone of the voice, you can have an idea as to the manner on how it was said. Okay, however, you cannot see the facial expression. Both of you are blindsided on that fact. Both people on the receiving and on the sender's end of the phone conversation. Sometimes this might be a bit toxic because you don't see the facial expression and you can only hear the words, or you can only hear the person, how the message was delivered. However, if you're very shy, if you are not that confident to practice in front of the mirror, and it's awkward for you to see your facial expression, you could go for the phone conversation. Okay? So what's good about a phone conversation is you can hear the tone. You can have an idea on the manner of how the message was delivered. Hence, it's more, it's not very open to misunderstanding as compared to just receiving a text message or an email, because you can't discern how it was said. All right? So that's phone conversation. Okay, so that's it for today. That's our lesson. It is important to know the different methods and how you can communicate in the workplace because, as college students as you are, in the future you will be working. That's the goal. And of course, you have to learn how to be able to communicate with people in the workplace. When you get to your OJT, on the job training, you have to know how to relate with these people. And with your knowledge on the different methods of communication in the workplace and why they are important, you would value it more and you would always keep in mind that effective communication is your key in the workplace. It's the key to understanding people in the workplace. It's not only a key to good leadership, but it's also a key to good, relationships in the workplace. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you again next time. Have a nice day.